I love Windows 10, and Windows 7 was special. Those two operating systems are some of the most functional and useful operating systems ever made. Now, I know I can already hear the Linux people screaming. Stay tuned. I'm going to release a video talking about the ways I use Linux and why I cannot use Linux as my daily driver desktop. Right now, what we're going to do is talk about the upcoming changes to Windows 11, why I think Windows 11 is in fact worse than Windows 8, the reasons why. It's not just going to be like an old man ranting about why the things are changed and I don't like change and why have you done this to my thing. Are you ready for my philosophy on what I think an operating system should be like? An operating system should be like a very good manager. And what do good managers do? Good managers enable you. They allow you to do things in your own way as long as you get them done. And then they get out of your way and let you work. A bad manager gets in your way, throws things at you all the time, tells you that the way you're doing it is not the right way to do it and you should do it their way, and then bothers you the entire time you're trying to do your work and makes it difficult for you to do the normal tasks that you would be doing. That's a bad manager. Windows 11 is a bad manager. Windows 10 is a good manager. Windows 7 is a great manager. So hopefully someone from Microsoft is watching, because I think a lot of the power users like me and a lot of the people watching this video have our telemetry turned off so they cannot monitor everything that we do and they don't know the ways that we're using the operating system. Maybe that's why they're going in such a terrible direction with Windows 11. Before we get into any of that, let's make sure that your copy of Windows is activated. I use Whokeys for my OEM keys. This is where I get my Windows keys. You can also upgrade from Home to Pro, which I highly recommend that you do. But first off, let's show you how these prices. So you see $30, right? If you go to Microsoft's website, it's over $200. What's the difference? This is an OEM key, meaning that it's generally locked to the hardware. Sometimes it moves from one to the other, but we can pretty much say that it's going to work on one system. And then if you move over to the next system, you get another key for that system. Now, you'd have to do this multiple times before it would be, a better deal to get the regular version from Microsoft. The other thing about OEM keys is they don't come with a warranty from Microsoft. So on your operating system, you can't just call up Microsoft. Has anyone ever done that? So let me just show you the prices right now. So if we just throw this in our cart, proceed to checkout, and then use the coupon code TS25. I've got it saved, but I'll just put it in here. Hit apply and watch it come down. $23.22. We also have Windows 10 Pro, and I want to note that Windows 10 Pro right now still unlocks Windows 11, so you can get a Windows 10 Pro key, save a little bit of money, and use it to unlock Windows 11. But Google this, because it may have changed by the time you've seen this video. If it's been a few months or whatever, just Google and see, hey, do Windows 10 Pro keys also unlock Windows 11? I'm going to put this in my cart, put in TS25 coupon code, and that comes down to $17.61. Let's say you need a copy of Office and you don't want to pay for the Office 365 monthly recurring thing. Well, you can get Office 2019 and not have to pay that monthly fee. The coupon code TS25, click on that, hit apply, and there we go, $48.85 instead of paying a monthly fee. So I need to activate Windows 11 for this video and for the next video, so I'm going to go ahead and buy a copy of this right now. Clicking on buy now takes you straight to checkout. I'm going to go ahead and submit my order. Once you're finished placing your order, it brings you here, and then you can just click on view keys and codes. If you do not go directly here, go up to the top, click on your email address, click on user center, and then in the middle of the page, it'll tell you you have an unextracted key. Extract now, yes. It'll bring you here, but if not, just click on my purchase orders and then view keys and codes. It says completed, and then right here we can do get the key. And right there in the middle of the page, that's your key. So go ahead and copy that, click on start, type activate, and it's going to give you all kinds of garbage, but just wait for it to say activation settings. Click on that. Once you get here, just click to change your product key and wait. By activating Windows, you get the best experience. Yes. Click on activate. Now remember, this is the Windows 10 key I'm trying right here. And hey, we're activated. There we go. Got a screenshot from Oblivion on there. We've changed our wallpaper. We are activated and we are good to go. So thanks again to Whokeys for sponsoring this video. And now it's time to get on to our regularly scheduled program. Let's talk about how we got here. Right now, Windows is still running on the Windows NT graphical user interface. The Windows kernel has been evolving over the years, and you may have looked over at Linux and said they've got all these different desktops. They've got window managers, you got Budgie, you got Cinnamon, you got LXDE, you got KDE Plasma, you got XFCE, you got, Monte, you got GNOME. GNOME 3, of course. You've got Unity, which is built into Ubuntu. You got Fluxbox. You got OpenBox if you want window managers. You've got all kinds of different graphical user interfaces for Linux. Why don't we have the same things for Windows? Well, Windows is closed source and the kernel is there and they've just been using the Windows NT as the graphical user interface, and they've been using that. Okay, this is crazy. It's before Windows 95. Windows 95 didn't use Windows NT, but Windows NT came out as a 32-bit version of the Windows 3.1 file manager that they had way back then. So this is really old stuff. We've got legacy code all the way from back before Windows 95 built into Windows 11. We have not made a change in that long. Windows NT finally showed up in a desktop on Windows 2000, and it was like, oh, this is great. And it was. It showed up in Windows XP and Windows 7 and Windows 8, and now Windows 10 and 11. They're all running with the same stuff going on. It's the same car with a different paint job on top. Now, the paint job on Windows 11 is a little bit different. So how do we get to that? Well, what's happened with Windows 11 is they've locked down a lot of things to try to, I guess, obfuscate or keep you away from a lot of the subsystems that are running in the background. They don't want you messing around with stuff. They want things to be nice and easy, but they also want to stop you from customizing things, which is what we're going to see with the new versions that are coming out. They've removed parts of the old taskbar. So the functionality that used to be there in Windows 10, they're removing a lot of that functionality so that only the Windows 11 taskbar is going to be available. And they're going to lock down a lot of the other features because we've been using different hacks to bring back features from Windows 7 and Windows 10 and just really helpful things. Even stuff from Windows 8 you can bring back. Windows 8 flyout menus for the volume and the network and all that. You can bring all that stuff back using Explorer Patcher and a number of other things, but they are locking it down so you can no longer do that because they're finally removing it. They're removing that little piece from the Windows NT, from the Windows NT user interface. They're getting rid of it. So that's going to be gone. And that's fine. We move forward, we move into the future. There's new ways to do things. And normally I don't have a problem with that. I was thinking that the whole advertising in Windows was a new thing. And then I installed Windows 95 because I was just messing around with something and testing. And I ended up with a later copy of Windows 95 that had the active desktop stuff. And do you remember this? Windows 95, look at that. MSNBC News, Disney, all this stuff, sports. Remember this active desktop nonsense? And then when you clicked on the start button, there were advertisements they had advertisements built in for MSN and AOL and just all kinds of nonsense. There's AOL preview. So yeah, they were cramming advertisements in from the beginning, from Windows 95. They've always wanted to cram in advertisements, but they didn't have the bandwidth to really do the telemetry that they can do now. And they didn't have I guess they weren't as big as they are. So yeah, the advertisement, I guess, is way more efficient now. It was pretty easy just to turn off the active desktop, close a couple things, and then you're done when it comes to Windows 95. But the corporate brain rot has been there from the beginning. And we just have to keep wrestling functionality away from the corporate nerds and the marketing bros and giving it back to the developers and the nerds who are actually using this stuff. So yeah, it's funny to see that. The direction that they're going in is not governed by what is good for a desktop power user. It's governed by what is good for a tablet, in my opinion. I think that's really, this kind of happened back in Windows 8. Windows saw something and they immediately had an identity crisis. You remember this? This is the first iPad in 2010. It's Steve Jobs, and this is when he was out there just showing off what it was. So let's get over here and just take a look at this user interface. Great user interface for a tablet. And the iPad became a sensation. So what did Windows do? Well, they looked at that and they're like, okay, that tablet operating system that they have there and all the stuff that's going on, why don't we take a lot of that DNA and shove it into a desktop operating system? And then you know what we got? On August 1st, 2012, a couple of years later, we got Windows 8. There it is. Let's get some shots of this just so you can remember. And it didn't feel like a desktop operating system anymore. There was a giant context shift between the start menu and the actual desktop where you did all your work. And it felt jarring. It didn't feel right. It didn't feel like something that a power user would want to use. But there was something that I think is okay about the Windows 8 experience. You were still able to hack it. You could change it. You could add Open Shell. Back then it was called Classic Shell to bring back the original start menu, make it look like Windows 7, which was what most of us were familiar with. The Windows 8 start menu, if you ran it in the small mode using like some hacks or whatever, was actually okay. It wasn't that bad. In fact, I think it was maybe better than Windows 10 because it had fewer advertisements and fewer, bits of garbage. There was no Candy Crush right there on the start menu. There was some other things there, maybe just camera, games, Xbox, the whole thing, whatever it was. There's SkyDrive and some other stuff that they had that they just throw on there. But they were mostly Microsoft things, maps, maybe a Twitter app or something. There was some of the Metro apps they came out with. It wasn't crammed full of Candy Crush and Spotify and whatever all the new nonsense is. Let's just take a look. We've got Windows 11 right here on a VM. Yeah, what do we got here when I press start? Yeah, I've deleted most of it, looks like. But you do have LinkedIn, Spotify, sometimes some games you don't want, some addictive gotcha games with pay-to-win mechanics or whatever, crammed right here into your start bar. And there's going to be ads here too. You know, back in the Windows 8 day, that was not there. You could organize it. It was very nice. And then in Windows 10, they just gave you the small one that a lot of people were trying to hack their machines to get anyway. And it was okay. You could delete stuff pretty easily from the taskbar. And that's the thing, you could modify it. And it was nice and it was usable. But I think that the whole identity crisis is still there when it comes to the design. And the whole idea that we need one interface for all users, whether it's a tablet, whether it's a laptop, or whether it's a desktop power user who is doing something completely different than what someone who with a tablet is doing. We need to give them all the same unified interface, and that is ridiculous. That whole idea is ridiculous. You've ever heard the whole story of like what's the best Pepsi, and Pepsi paid $1 gazillion to a marketing person to try to figure out what's the best flavor of Pepsi, and he came back and he said, your question is wrong. The question shouldn't be what's the best flavor of Pepsi. The question should be what's the best Pepsis. And they were like, huh? And he's like, people are different. You need cherry Pepsi. You need vanilla Pepsi. You need diet Pepsi. You need all these different flavors. Peanut butter Pepsi. I don't know. Crystal Pepsi. Remember that nonsense? We need all these different flavors of Pepsi. And sure enough, it worked. And now there's still lots of different flavors of Pepsi. Some of them come and go, but people prefer different things. And different things will sell to different people and sales will go up overall. But Windows keeps trying to create this one unified interface for all people, regardless of what they're doing with their device. You know, on the tablet, I'm probably going to leave the regular Windows 11 interface, except I might change a couple little things, make some things smaller if I can. But it's nice. When I flip it sideways, it automatically flips and things are big enough for my fingers to tap on the tablet and use it. It's okay. It's not too bad. Yeah, I'll change a few things. But when I'm sitting at a desktop, I don't want the taskbar to be this big, whatever is it, like 50 pixels, almost 48 pixels tall. I don't need it to be that tall. I want that desktop real estate for my power stuff. I don't want to use auto hide because that annoys me when it's constantly popping up and down. Let me just do a little show and tell here. Auto hide, I can't stand it. It like sometimes it pops up when I don't want it to pop up. Sometimes it doesn't pop up when I want it to pop up. It's like, and there's always a little bit of a latency. Like when I go down there, like sometimes if I go up and down, and it's like I don't like that. This is my Windows 11 desktop that's not been updated to 24H2. But this one on the VM, it's been updated to 24H2. Look at the size of this taskbar. Now here is the thing that I really hate about Windows 11 24H2. Yes, they've removed a lot of the other subsystems that were hiding there, the Windows 10 functionality, the Windows 8 functionality, that's gone. The taskbar is different. It's not the same animal anymore. They're removing pieces, but they're also locking down our ability to change things. You used to be able to go in and say, I want small icons on the taskbar, and that would reduce the size of the taskbar by several pixels, which makes a difference. We don't need all the extra padding if we're doing something and we want all of our desktop real estate. A tiny little taskbar on the bottom is completely fine. And with most versions of Linux like Plasma and GNOME and everything, you can go in and set an individual pixel number telling you how, telling it exactly how big you want your interface to be on the bottom. You can tell it how this is how big the taskbar, this big. Like 16, 32 pixels, whatever you want. You can tell it exactly how many you want. It's brilliant. But Windows does not want you to do that. And it doesn't make any sense because I'm still using your product. Let me change a few things here and there, that don't take away functionality. If I'm on a desktop, let me do stuff to the operating system. But right now, Windows has been blacklisting programs. And this is something that I think is kind of new because these are not viruses. These are not programs that destroy the operating system. These are programs that allow you to configure the way Windows functions and looks. They patch different parts of Explorer, like Explorer Patcher. They're blocking Start All Back, which is a start menu and taskbar replacement program that does some other things to the system. They're blocking several different apps that you can use on Windows. These are not viruses. but they say they may have, like unintended consequences or whatever. It's okay. That's not your business, Microsoft. I bought the operating system. I bought the OEM key, but you get the idea. We bought the operating system. It's on my computer. I'm using an offline account. You have no business telling me what I can and cannot do. The registry hacks that we used to be able to use to make the taskbar smaller, those are also disabled in the latest 24 H2. Those don't work anymore. The only way to change this, and I'll show you, if you want to change the size of this, the only way I've discovered so far is to use Start 11, which is a paid program, but it's from Stardock, and it's a well-made program, but it doesn't do all the stuff I want it to do. Like, I actually prefer the Start button from Classic Shell. So if I turn this on, watch the taskbar on the bottom. Look at that. It works. I'll sell it to always combine buttons, may as well. There we go. So I don't know what they're doing that's different from the other programs, but maybe Explorer Patcher will figure something out. But whenever you try to install Explorer Patcher on the latest version of Windows, the one that I'm looking at here, this is also the beta or the dev build or whatever, it's coming out later in the year. All right, so check this out. Right here's Explorer Patcher. If I want to install that, I double click it, and look what Windows tells me. This app can't run on this device. This app can't run because it causes security or performance issues on Windows. So it says a newer version may be available. So that's promising. It's not telling me that, like, hey, it's gone forever, but they are blacklisting things and telling me that I can't use them. But check this out. The blacklist is so stupid and crude that all I had to do was rename this to Explorer Patcher. I put Explorer Patcher. Yes! And look at this. We're installing it now. That's it. It's installing now. And now I've got Explorer Patcher installed. You shouldn't be installing Explorer Patcher and Start 11 and all these other things at the same time because it's going to confuse things. It's like, what's going on? It's fighting with Explorer Patcher and Start 11. Right now I've got Start 11 and I've got that's Open Shell and all this stuff installed at the same time. It's not killing anything. It's kind of working, but also it's not working perfectly either because look, there's a space right here over there, right there. See? That space, that's because the Open Shell doesn't know that Start 11 has made the taskbar smaller. So I don't know, will be a way to fix that or not. It's really annoying. They're making it so difficult to customize Windows 11. And for power users who want to use the software, it's making it almost to the point where it's a deal breaker. And a lot of people are going to start moving over to Linux. It's going to be a slow trickle at first. It's not going to be like a lot of people in the Linux community think that Windows 11 is so bad that people are just going to like, all of a sudden tomorrow we're going to wake up and have like 40% share of the desktop operating systems will be Linux, and that's not going to happen. It's going to be like 6%, 7%, 8%, 10%, like it's going to be a slow thing. And a lot of people like me are going to be stranded on Windows for a long time. I might have to try to figure out something where I'm running a VM because I'm getting so frustrated with the direction that Windows 11 is going in. But I have software that's on Windows 11 that keeps me hostage, and I'll make a video about that soon so all the Linux people who really want me to move over to Linux can understand where some of the people are, when it comes to being stuck. And I think a lot of it's creative people stuck by the creative programs that don't have good alternatives or any alternatives at all and don't work in Wine or with any other compatibility layers. So I've had to do a lot to get Windows 11 to function half as well as I'd like it to. And there's still many things about the user interface that make me insane. The last thing I'll mention here is that you cannot drag and drop images or anything else. Like if you're just chilling here in your operating system and you used to be able to drag and drop stuff up here to the bar. You can't drag and drop up here unless you hack it. I had to use Explorer Patcher to allow me to do this. But in Windows 11, you can't do that. So if they don't allow me to hack that, then that's going to, I'm having like this, you see this? We still have the File Explorer from Windows 10. This is the Windows 10 style File Explorer with the ribbon right here. There we go. I'm using that one. And I actually like the Windows 11 tabs. That's really cool. File Explorer with tabs. But I've decided this is more important to me, being able to drag and drop things up here. I do this every day, all the time, and it's not a feature that everyone uses, maybe because everyone doesn't know about it, but a lot of people used it, and they just removed it from the File Explorer. It almost feels capricious when you think about like some of the stuff that they've taken out, because who was that bothering? Who was that affecting? You had to actually do work to remove it and troubleshoot it and make sure that it was not working. It's like, why did you remove that? It was in the early builds of Windows 11 with the new File Explorer. It was there, but why did you remove it? Why are you doing this to power users? So the identity crisis is back, and it's worse this time because they're trying to tell me that I can't run Windows the way I want to run Windows, like I could with Windows 8 and Windows 10. I could hack the interface. I could make changes to it. Now, speaking of hack the interface, there are a few things you can do. And, like, I wish there were more, alternative GUIs that you could use. It's not that easy to write a GUI for Windows. And there's a few that have come out over the years. I think the one that's probably the most well developed and still has, I think, some support is Cairo. It's a different desktop operating system. In my opinion, it's not easy on the eyes. It's kind of, I guess, looks about like Windows XP era. If you like this, then cool. It's very functional. Does a great job. So if you want to explore just a totally new desktop environment that works on Windows, Cairo is that. But I think we're at the era where we need some new alternative desktop GUIs that, use Windows as the kernel, and then we've got a new GUI on top. That would be brilliant, but this is closed source stuff. This is not the same as Linux. It's nowhere near as easy. A lot of it you're going to have to be doing overlays and stuff on top of Windows functionality, so it's not going to be the same level of compatibility, not the same level of function. So yeah, I mean, ultimately if I had everything that I wanted, I would just have the programs that I really, really need. I would have them create Linux versions. That would be amazing. So FL Studio, if you're watching, please. Vienna Symphonic Orchestra, please. That's some of those plugins for the audio stuff. Huge deal, but they're only Windows or Mac. There's one other solution that I was thinking of, and this could come from inside Microsoft. And I think if we bother some of these developers and maybe just bother Microsoft enough to let them know that, hey, listen, I know you're not getting a lot of telemetry from us, but we use your products. We buy Microsoft. I make tons of tutorials that help people who are going to use Microsoft the vanilla way with ads. I make tutorials for them. I talk about Windows. But we need the tools. We need the PowerToys. So maybe the PowerToys team could look into doing something, because right now PowerToys is an awesome piece of software. Let me just open it up right here. It gives you so much more functionality. You've got better zones when it comes to snapping. Just all kinds of different tools for your sleep. There's so many tools built in here. And these are Microsoft devs who are working on this. This is a Microsoft product. What if there were some configuration options here for our desktop user interface, our File Explorer? There's File Explorer add-ons right here, but this is mostly just for file types and everything. But what if we brought back some of the functionality from older versions of Windows, like Windows 10, or just some new ideas for better ways, because let's just face it. See this nonsense right here? If I click on the volume thing, it brings up this entire cluster. And that's the new thing in Windows 11. And normally we could patch this out, but as of the newest version of Windows, this dev build that I have here, you can no longer patch this out. But what if we had some alternative ways to do this? A different taskbar that could be enabled through PowerToys for people who are using desktops and need different functionality and don't want to have to deal with all this nonsense here. And look, this is for swiping up and down, but it doesn't allow me. Oh, you can swipe up and down with your mouse. But I mean, that's not what I want. If I'm this little thing, if I'm gonna pop this out, then pop the whole thing out. Why are you making me do extra clicks to move things up and down? This is stupid. This is extremely stupid. And then if I want network, Jesus. I'm so unhappy right now. So what I did is I created a desktop shortcut for network, and I'm probably gonna put that on my, I'll put it on here, just drop it right there, sure. There, network, great. So now I can just click on that and it'll go here, or you could just click on this and go to my network connections here. I'm gonna have to be using my start menu like crazy. So OpenShell, you're gonna be doing a lot of extra work when it comes to Windows 11. All right, I'm gonna close this out by saying, if you are tied to Windows like me because of some software, then I would recommend you stick with Windows 10 for as long as humanly possible. It's the last desktop operating system that Windows has made, and I do not consider Windows 11 a desktop operating system. It's another identity crisis that thinks it's a tablet interface but wants to make sure that it can work on a desktop as well. God, I wish the Windows phone had worked, so all the people who are working on the Windows 11 interface could just put their energy over there on the phone and tablet products and leave us alone on the desktop. But you need 2 different interfaces. You need the power user's desktop interface, and you need the interface for tablets and phones and whatever else, touch devices. Those don't need to be the same interface. And you need to allow us to customize our interface, Microsoft, or else people are going to start going to Linux more and more every day. And then maybe it'll get to the point where there's enough of a demand on Linux that somebody big like Adobe will say, you know what, we can do the Adobe suite. And they'll do it for, I don't know, one distro, or I don't know if they probably won't do a flat pack or whatever, but they'll do it. And then who knows what else will happen. Maybe Foobar will make a Linux version, please. Anyway, that's the end of this rant. I'll see you in the next video. I'm going to actually do a fun thing where I just sit here. It's going to be nerdy. Just put it on, have a cup of coffee, and goof off with me. But I'm going to try to hack the hell out of Windows 11 and just see what I can do with version 24H2. It's going to be a long video of me like hacking around with the files, seeing how many things I can change, seeing what I can do, installing all kinds of different programs, and just seeing how much I can tweak the operating system as it is. So it's a feasibility study, and I'm going to take you along for the ride. So that'll be coming up as well soon. This entire month I'm going to be talking a lot about Windows, Windows alternatives like Linux, and why I can't move to them, and just other stuff like that. So we're going to get into it this month, kind of crazily. I'll see you in the coming videos. Yes. And lastly, don't forget we have some awesome t-shirts over here on epicpants.com, and this is half price, as well as the keyboard. This is our Phoenix Swift mouse, an extremely ergonomic and comfortable right-handed mouse with the 3360 flawless sensor at $19.99. It's kind of stupid. Also, one of the things I love about this is you can change the colors by holding down button combinations, and you do not have to go and install any software. So this is all just plug and play, no software needed to change all the colors, and the video right here will tell you all about that. And then over here we got our water-resistant keyboard with and over here we've got our water-resistant keyboard with several different colors you can swap through just by holding Function and pressing Tab. Really easy. No nonsense, no software, that's how I like it. And that one's also $19.99 on sale right now. Plus a little shipping, because shipping's $1 billion for me. I'm always eating a little bit of the profit on shipping, but hey, that's the way it works. Anyway, I'll see you all in the comments. You're awesome. Let me know what you think. You ready for my philosophy about what an operating system should be like?